I want to find someone that's amazing, that's in my similar age bracket, and I want them to drop everything that they like to fit perfectly, exactly into all the things I like. Unrealistic.
So you're saying you can't have it both ways?
No.
Would you have moved to Seattle for me? Why is that funny?
Wow.
There's very, very few things I would not let go of for a really great godly spouse.
Yeah. You came to me very clear. I want 5 kids. I came to you very much like my max
I'm
is
open to
3.
it. No, you said I'm open to that.
No, I did not.
You're trying to impress me.
I did not say I was open to it.
You signed a blood contract saying that you'd be open to it.
Marriage is not about squeezing someone into your pre-existing life. It's about building something new together. We're living in a time where people are staying single longer than ever before. And while that may sound empowering, I also think that it is really detrimental to our dating life. The more we build a life that's perfectly tailored to us, the harder it becomes to join lives together and even make compromises with the other person that you're interested in. Today, we're talking about compromise. Healthy compromise, not healthy compromise. How much compromise should you make in a relationship with somebody that you're seriously considering? We're talking all about it today. We are in a series called Relationship Goals, aren't we, JJ?
Yes, we are.
And I'm excited about this episode. The inspiration for this episode came from a post I did in the summer of 2025 that kind of went a little viral. And it got a lot of heat, okay? But it also got a lot of people commenting and messaging me privately being like, this is me, I needed this, and I need help figuring out how to be more open to bringing someone else into my life. And so we're going to link that post so that you can go and check it out. Some of the comments are unruly, so prepare yourself. But it really is a fun conversation. So JJ, I want to start this conversation by asking you this question. I truly don't think we were designed to be single this far into adulthood. Now, I want to clarify, as I say that, there's nothing wrong with being single. Like being single is amazing. And if you're called to singleness, like we have celibate friends, even people that are same-sex attracted that have decided I am same-sex attracted, but I am not going to get married and I am going to be celibate for the rest of my life. Like that is a beautiful call. And if you are called to be single for the rest of your life, there's nothing wrong with that. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying for the people who desire marriage, who are likely going to get married one day, I think that it's really hard the older and older you get to actually bring someone into our life. What do you think about that?
Well, clarify for me, because I agree, but when people are staying single, like that phrase right there, what do you mean by that? Is it people staying single by voluntary choice or involuntary choice, right? Because a lot of people might push back and be like, I don't want to be single, Kait. I'm not trying to be single this long. Like I know I'm an older single or I'm established in my ways, but I'm trying to do the best I can.
I would say they might be saying, hey, I don't want to be single, but I think a lot of the things they are doing in their life sometimes is actually leading to them being single. So this conversation on compromise, right? A lot of people want to be in a relationship. They want to get married, but they're not willing to give up their zip code. They're not willing to change their lifestyle a little bit. They're not willing to say, oh, it's like my friends don't really vibe with their friends and therefore this can't work. Like they're like, no, I want it to be so perfectly this way. I have my own life built a certain way and I like my life and I want to find someone that perfectly fits in a mold into my life, which is wild because think about it. If you're like 30 or 35, whatever age, that other person that you're probably with in a similar age bracket has also learned to be single for however many years outside of their parents' home. Let's call it like post-college especially. So they've also developed their own rhythms, their own routines, their own lifestyle preferences. So you're saying, I want to find someone that's amazing, that's in my similar age bracket, and I want them to drop everything that they like to fit perfectly, exactly into all the things I like. Unrealistic.
So you're saying you can't have it both ways.
No,
Right.
it's crazy.
You can't complain about being single,
but not be willing to compromise on some of the ways that you're living today.
So you're trying to lovingly challenge some of the ways you think might be superficial, or if you really want to get married, then these are some areas that you should, if possible,
Yes.
if in your control, should be willing to give up.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I think there's certain, I guess every person's different, right? So I want you to be able to live where you feel like God has you to live. So the key question is the longer we live alone, the more we design a life that's just conducive to our life that we like, enjoy, appreciate.
Yes.
And the more we do that, the harder it is to give up that life for someone else.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, sure. If you're looking for someone to perfectly fit into that life, which is fine. If you really want that, I would just tell someone, hey, you better be comfortable waiting a much longer amount of time.
Well, do you think it's realistic to say that I have this very curated life in my city with this group of friends, these likes and interests, and I expect to find somebody that fits exactly perfectly into that melds perfectly into that?
I don't think it's bad or wrong to have that. I would just tell that person, the more picky you are, the more specific you are, the more you whittle that down, the more impossible that becomes to find.
Right.
The more unlikely it is to happen.
Which is why some people who DM me, message, or say, hey, I do want to be in a relationship, Kait, but they're not willing to maybe open those things up and sacrifice some of those preferences, then you probably will still continue to stay single.
Yeah, I think, well, and the other thing is we probably don't consciously think about it, but subconsciously, we probably start to hold those things tighter and tighter.
Yeah.
And a lot of that too is not wrong. Those things have become really meaningful in your life. Those are probably some of the things that have kept you satisfied, happy.
Yes.
They've given you a lot of joy as you've coped with being single as you get older and older, right?
Can we make a clarification?
Yes.
I don't think having solid routines is bad. I don't think having a certain specific lifestyle is bad or wrong.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying when it comes to dating and looking for someone, it's fine for you to have your own routines, life, all of that. Like you should. That's the way it should go, right? And live and thrive in your singleness. Absolutely. I'm saying when it comes to dating, and then what we're talking about in this season, being in a relationship, the more you try to then fit that person into that so perfectly, the less likely you're going to have success. So I'm like, yeah, have all of those things, but hold them loosely when it comes to joining a life with someone.
Right. It's kind of like if you have a puzzle and you're looking like the more rigid and sharp and clear that puzzle piece has to be to perfectly fit in, versus I do think would you say when you're younger, it's a little bit more flexible. You can take a square, you can take a circle, you can take a triangle, you can take a funny looking puzzle piece and make it work.
I do think when you're younger, this is an easier process because you're figuring out a lot more together. You're, melding things together for the first time. Let's say you're right out of college. Well, then you're really on your own for the first time together.
Yeah. Take 22-year-old Kait versus 32-year-old Kait.
Very different.
Would 22-year-old Kait be willing to sleep on a couch?
Maybe sometimes not that much though, but yes.
Yeah. Would 22-year-old Kait be willing to be okay with 4 roommates?
Probably.
Okay. Would 22-year-old Kait be okay with vegan, gluten-free, heavy carb, whatever?
No.
Okay. Would 22-year-old Kait
Actually, I did eat a lot of carbs. Yeah.
And with 22-year-old Kait,
I was vegan though.
Yeah. Would you be happy maybe living in Colorado, maybe trying out the outdoor lifestyle or the Pacific Northwest?
No, I was very specific on the outdoor stuff.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I guess the whole point there is you were a lot more flexible at 22.
Yes.
You were a lot more open at 22.
Yeah.
And you had a lot less things that you held tightly at 22.
Right. No,
versus
completely.
32, right?
Very, very, very different.
And so is that kind of the whole point you're trying to make?
The whole point, yes, is let's talk about compromise, especially as you are single later and later. Like, not that you don't have compromise in your early 20s when you're in a relationship, but I think it gets to be more when you get the older you get in singleness.
Yeah, it's almost like a catch-22 because if someone is single and they're trying to cope with that singleness and they're getting a little bit older and older, I want you to find meaningful ways to enjoy your life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
exactly.
a really good thing.
I think so too.
It's just the challenge is the tighter you hold on to those things of, I want a spouse and I want to keep this, the harder it becomes.
Let me bring up one that I think is probably the biggest one I see people have an issue with. Well, there's a lot of ones, but I think this one is like the biggest one people hold tightly.
Well, it's, let me guess.
Mm-hmm.
Cats. Having a cat.
No, not having a cat.
I can't give up my cat.
No. I mean, probably actually if they...
Okay, next guess, Xbox.
That one is probably big, but I don't think it's as big as this other one.
Okay. Seriously, location.
Yeah. I think location is the biggest area. We have our grip around that. I do not want to leave my location. I love my location. I love blah, blah, blah. But here's what I have to say about location. Okay. Even if you find someone in your city, okay, now if you live in a metroplex, a big city, you might find like more options there. But if you're really attached to your small town or suburb of a bigger location, like, or maybe not even near a big location, I'm like, you are going to have a much harder time. If you're like, I just want to find someone to live just in this specific place. Because, and here's what I want to tell you is that even if you find someone eventually in the place that you live, there is no guarantee that once you join lives, you will actually stay with that person in that location. There's no guarantee. God may call you to a new city. God may give you a new job in a new city. God may give your husband a new job in a new city. Okay. It may even happen in the first year. And so what? You waited all that time to find someone in your city just for 1 year into marriage for you to move. So here, that's the thing. Zip codes, I think where we live, that's the thing we hold the most tightly. And I get it. Okay. Listen to me. I get it before you come after me. I get it. You have your rhythms, routines, your friends, everything there, maybe your job, right? And potentially even family. And there's just a lot of like things saying, I'm comfortable in this city. Therefore, I do not want to even consider moving or considering long distance because, that might mean that I have to sacrifice this.
Well, my question is your zip code, your location, is it a preference or is it your assignment?
Exactly.
Is it your purpose to be there? And a really good way that we can test that is this. If God called you to move to another city tomorrow, would it be a yes? Would it be easy? Would it be like like Abraham, go to a new land. Don't care what you have, new city, new land, you're called. And he packed everything. Now, we don't quite get to know whether or not it was easy or hard, right? Emotionally.
Right.
All we know is that he did it.
Yes.
And I think if you're already following God's calling and purpose in your life in the sense of even to the zip code in the city you live in, you're there because God brought you there. Well, if God brings you another place, it should be pretty easy to move and go there.
Yeah.
Now, I think a lot of times we're trying to figure that out. Like it's maybe not the most clear, but we have a pretty good idea. I would just simply say, in a lot of ways, for a godly spouse who's going to amplify your calling and your callings together, is that not worth moving for? If you can move or if they can move.
Yes.
Assuming you or the other can move, in my opinion, what else in life is more worth than a godly spouse?
Yeah. I like what you say, like, unless God has specifically, very clearly called you to where you are or what you're doing there, right? So like, for example, if I am called to be a missionary in a certain city, state, or in Africa or whatever, like I would not say give that up unless God makes it clear to be with somebody in a different place. Like if that's your godly calling, I would say, yes, you want someone to join you in that. But a lot of people hold location, not because of calling, but because of their preference.
Now, if I woke up this morning and said, Kate, I feel like we've been called to Mobile, Alabama, and we both work remote. Like we can be in Mobile.
Well, I would say let's press into that. Let's pray about it. Let's get confirmation. Let's seek counsel on that.
But you would be open to it if that's truly what...
I mean, I would have to be open to it. Yeah. I wouldn't be excited about it, but I would have to, or God would have to get me excited about it. But, so I think location is a big one.
Well, that's what we just talked about with Abraham. Like, we really don't get it to see a snapshot on whether or not emotionally he was excited about it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing about calling and obedience and location that can be really hard. Location is one of those bigger decisions we make in life. I would say even bigger one though, as a godly spouse. Mm-hmm. And again, I just can't harp on that enough. for a godly spouse, someone who's going to amplify your calling and vice versa, that you're going to build a family with.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's worth maybe giving up a job and finding a new one for. I think it's worth giving up a zip code. Like, as we have this conversation on how much compromise is too much compromise, I'm like, there's very, very few things I would not let go of for a really great godly spouse.
Yeah.
There's very, very, very few things for a truly godly spouse.
Well, let's talk about this, okay? Because there were some compromises that had to happen when we were joined.
I compromised a ton.
So I think we need to first start by redefining marriage, especially for those in relationship that are thinking like, okay, now that I'm with this person, I'm starting to consider all the potential sacrifices, compromise that I might have to make for this person. Marriage is not about squeezing someone into your pre-existing life. It's about building something new together. That is how we need to see marriage. It doesn't mean you're going to have to give up every single thing that you like and enjoy and all your preferences, all your lifestyle, all your routines, but it is going to mean that a lot of that is probably going to change.
Yeah, I love that. I think about it like a whiteboard. You think about a whiteboard, a lot of us maybe have it filled out. We have a picture, we have a movie, we have a film over what we'd love we would love for this to look like for the next 30 years of our life. That is squeezing someone into your pre-existing film, what you think is what is amazing, okay? This is about taking that whiteboard and completely wiping it blank and saying, hey, I would love to include you and together dream and think about building something new together. And I have all these experiences, I have all these dreams, and I have all these things to contribute. And you do too.
Yes.
Let's build something really exciting together.
Okay. So let's talk about how that worked out for us, because we did have to have some sacrifice, compromise in, our dating relationship and then leading into marriage. So I can think of one off the top of my head. Okay. Kids, number of kids. That's still an ongoing compromise that we are
This one is still in negotiations.
This is still in negotiations. But, you came to me very clear, I want 5 kids. I came to you very much like my max
I'm
is
open to
3.
No, you said I'm open to that.
No, I did not.
You're trying to impress me.
I did not say I was open to it.
You signed a blood contract saying that you'd be open to it.
I said I'm open to probably 3. And so your compromise
No. You said I would love 3.
Yes.
Let's go from there.
I think that we remember that conversation and these conversations from early days pretty different.
And so what did we do as a compromise though?
So the compromise that we've made so far is to take it 1 kid at a time.
Right. And again, 5 versus 3, you're in the same world. If you said 1 and I said 5, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
If you said 0 and I said 7, that's a big deal.
That's a deal breaker. I would say not wanting kids and wanting kids would be a deal breaker.
But even 1 to 5, that's a really big deal.
It is a big difference.
Now, one of my favorite stories that I hold on to with hope is we had one of our speakers at Heart of Dating Conference, and she has 7 kids. And do you know how many kids she wanted starting out?
How many?
1.
Julie.
And they just had 1 kid and then talked, and then they felt good and had another kid, and they ended up really enjoying it. So a lot of those kind of decisions, you never really know until you get there, and that's okay. But the whole point is I had 5 on my whiteboard and Kait had 3. And we're saying, hey, okay, we're in the same realm and vicinity. Now let's clear it and just work together 1 kid at a time on what this might look like.
1 kid at a time. Yeah.
Let's talk about moving. So we've never talked about this together on the podcast, offline. And I'm so excited to get to ask you for the first time.
Okay.
Would you have moved to Seattle for me? Why is that funny?
Wow. So, okay. To clarify, you moved to Orange County to California 3 months into dating. The reason, outside of he was really infatuated and wanted to pursue me, was that your job was based there. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I would not have moved 3 months into dating to Seattle ever. Okay. That would not have happened for me.
Okay.
Now, would I have ever moved to Seattle later or, at the end of our relationship or engagement? At some point in the
dating engagement journey before marriage.
Right. It would be a big sacrifice, but because Heart of Dating was not tied to Los Angeles, if I felt like I was called to be with you, then yes.
Yeah. Good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it just so turned out I had taken a job before I met you that was based in Orange County, Southern California. And the fact that you lived down there, you know, and I met you a few months after that, about 6 months after that. And I had to move to Orange County in Southern California anyway. For me, that was like a God bonus. That was a really awesome, amazing thing that I was just like, thank you, God. This aligned really well. Now, again, I don't necessarily, and we don't necessarily believe in the one, right? So having a sign like that is a really amazing thing, but I would call it now looking back retroactively, I would call that very much a God bonus and my desire to pursue and marry Kait. Like that was a really big deal.
Yes.
That's really crazy of all the places.
Because we got to date in person after you moved, after 3 months of dating.
Right. Like I had to move down there anyway. That made it really, really easy. So it's easy for us. I also did end up quitting that job, you know, when we got married to start something new in our life. That was a big sacrifice too, as well.
Yes.
There was no way I could have done that job and Heart of Dating.
Right.
Right. So I've like walked the walk after talking the talk. I know what it's like to move. I know what it's like to give up a job for someone. I know what it's like. But the one thing I would just encourage you is when you make a sacrifice, no one wants to make these sacrifices, but it's when it's for something that's better, that's for good, that's for exciting. That's when a sacrifice is easy to make. It doesn't negate the sting of the sacrifice, but I do think a sacrifice for something that is amazing is much easier to make than a sacrifice just for sacrifice's sake.
Right.
And for you and for the calling, for the story and for the journey and for the purpose that we're going to serve together, those sacrifices were easier to make.
Yeah. Let's talk about some other compromises we made. I mean, these were things I realized early on. For example, that JJ is not as clean as I am. So I very much realized a compromise I'm going to have to make, and that I still make to this day, is that this guy just does not have the same standards I do. So he has upped his standards, but I also have to be more free and flexible. Like when my mom comes over and sees JJ walking outside barefoot and coming back inside, not wiping his feet, my mom goes, oh my gosh. And she always reminds me that when we go to her house, JJ should not do that. And I'm like, okay, let me make sure to tell him. But she tells me like, why do you let him do that? I'm like, because sometimes I need to make some kind of, I can't control everything. I can't make you be exactly like I am. So, you know, you're going to probably be there's going to be one cleaner person than the other person. There's going to be probably a saver and a spender in the couple. That's usually how it works.
I didn't know she said that behind my back.
You know, I think
Miss Janice,
there's other lifestyle compromises.
I got some beef with you now. You come into my house, criticize what I want to do with my feet and my yard and my floor.
Okay, let's.
Okay, but here's my question for you.
Well, what about lifestyle stuff too?
No. Well, here's my question.
Yeah.
If it's truly a compromise, because if it's a compromise on one end, it's probably a compromise on the other end. Like we meet halfway.
Yeah.
Right on the majority of things. I've always heard this quote and I thought it was interesting. In a fair trade, neither side is really happy if it's a really fair trade.
Oh, because both are kind of sacrificing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
And 1% of marriage, would you say is like, there's just that kind of 50-50 trade where neither side's really happy versus
not
like
fully
all
happy, but you have to, that's just part of it.
Yeah.
You become okay with it. And you're like, you know that you have to bend and shape for some things.
You know,
a lot of things actually.
I agree. But here, you know what I would say is actually the next level to that is even though you can't see it, it's probably good for you.
Yeah,
that's true. Out of humility, your preference was probably too twisted or tilted or too strong in one way. And that other person's probably bringing to a better, more healthy balance.
I agree with you. It's probably good in many reasons, in many ways, especially if you're very opposite of the person you're with, because it challenges you. It usually challenges things that are kind of a stronghold for you.
Yeah. Well, I guess the underlying assumption is you think that your ways are perfect.
Yeah. That your ways are better,
else's.
Right?
And someone else has a different way. And you're saying, well, mine's better. That's why I do it this way.
Yeah, exactly.
And the reality is it's probably not. Both of you have probably grown in some kind of way.
Yeah.
That's just imbalance. So it's good for both people to be challenged.
Yeah. Let's run through a few other compromises we've made because I think it's just interesting. I think lifestyle-wise, we did make some compromises.
Yeah. I gave up being in 5 fantasy football teams.
Were you in 5?
Yeah.
Also gaming. with another one.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't want to make you look bad because people are going to come after you. I gave up gaming, or you just kind of grow out of it. It's not like you were nagging me. It's not like I was staying up till 2 a.m. gaming.
No,
right?
no. It was in engagement. You gamed quite a bit, and it became an issue in our relationship because you would say you'd be at a certain time, and then you were consistently late. And anytime you were consistently late, it was because of gaming. Yeah, it was. That's what we found out. So then I started getting frustrated.
You're consistently late because of your makeup, but I don't get mad at makeup, do I?
But then it just was, I was like, hey, I don't love how this really takes away from you being present. And so, but I didn't make you like throw away your Xbox. It's not gone, by the way. It still exists.
I'm not a very wise guy. That was probably one of the few things I had the wisdom to see was going to be a problem. And also, I can't imagine a world where on a Tuesday night at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock where we kind of want to connect or you want to connect. And I'm like, yeah, I'd rather go play Xbox with the boys. And I'm not saying that's bad. Like if there's a guy listening here or husbands who game, that's actually not bad. I actually kind of miss it sometimes. It's just when it grows into something that drives you further from your spouse and your partner and then closer to them.
Right. I gave up a so-called dream of having a husband that would love, that I always didn't want a guy who likes sports, first of all. And then I ended up with a guy who's like a super sports lover, right? So that was my preference, right? I'm like, I want a guy who, doesn't really care that much about sports, who is very successful in his career, but also kind of likes Disney, right? Okay. So
yeah, he would have been questionable.
Stop it.
I would have to wave my red rainbow flag.
Stop it. Okay. No, but JJ obviously was not that, and he did sacrifice. For 1 year. You had a Disney pass with me. It was the greatest year ever that you dragged yourself to Disney. But here's what we did is we had a little compromise even within that. JJ, anytime he would go to Disney, it would be a football game that I would watch with him. And so it was a great little,
but even that, I look back retroactively and I still feel bad about that because it's just kind of transactional. It's me making a sacrifice to go to Disney with you. I'm like, I have to have you watch a football game back.
No, I see it more as like we wanted to step into each other's worlds and meant a lot to each of us.
That's true.
So I was like, hey, he's willing to do this with me. Yeah. It's not his favorite thing.
Let's find a way to make it win-win.
I'll try to step into his world, right? Yeah. But obviously that means now I have to watch a football game. And previous to that, I hated football games. So here's the thing. It's just, okay, you are not necessarily, okay, let's talk about the gym for a second. So when we met, I was not a gym head. Is that what you call them?
I would probably, for you, it'd be a gym girly.
A gym girly?
Yeah, a gym head for me. I mean, I would just probably, I don't know. It's like a meathead. I think that's what you're trying to go.
Okay, gym...
Meathead.
Hardcore meathead gym guy.
Yeah,
okay.
Meathead for the guy, gym girly for the...
I wasn't a hardcore gym girly. At the time, I was way more into just walks.
Yeah, so you're a walker girl.
I'm a walker girl.
Nothing wrong with a walker girl, by the way.
Right. So that was my vibe. And JJ had always dreamed of being with a girl who he could go to the gym with. / he loves and is very attracted to women who like to work out. And so then you meet me and I'm like, yeah, I'm not good at sports at all. Not very athletic. And I like to walk.
Yeah, it was like 0 for 3 for sure.
So
we were both 0 for 3 in a lot of ways.
I think this is a big one though, that people are like, no, they have to be as athletic or go to the gym as much as me. And they're not willing to compromise on that. When I think that should be more of a preference.
Well, look, if you get it, great. But I think it's more just like it's a fun to have. Mm-hmm. If you get it, great. And if you don't, it's okay. Mm-hmm. And what's funny with you in the gym is I gave it up. I was like, okay, she's just never going to touch a barbell. She's never going to squat. She's just not going to be that kind of gym girl. And that's okay. Like there's so much more to life than the gym and those things. Yeah. It's a nice to have, sure. And what's funny is the more I let go of you being the gym girl, the more you actually came around to being a gym girl.
Well, yeah, because I got excited because I saw how much you enjoyed it. And I was like, well, maybe I could get into it. It's just like with football, my personality doesn't like to enter things that I don't feel like I'm good at.
Totally. Yeah. And that's a big deal. And a lot of the things that I was asking you to do were new experiences that you were not good at.
Yep.
So let's help you guys out. You guys are going to be making compromises, and Kait and I created some questions for you guys to work through with your partner as you deal with compromises, which could be a really good opportunity for you guys to grow closer or for resentment to take place. So that is actually the first question.
Yep.
Run this through this kind of rubric, this matrix. Does this compromise we're making help us grow closer together, or will it create resentment? And I think that's really indicative of your heart and how you kind of view compromise in general. I think the fun example that we just gave was Disney and football. We made a compromise that I'll go to Disney and you'll also watch football with me on Sunday the next day. We both made that decision and compromise in a good heart, a good place. It helped us grow closer on Saturday and Sunday. And we were both invested enough and good-natured enough that we didn't have resentment.
Right.
Now, in some ways, we could have made that same deal and shook hands, but if one of us has an unhappy heart or a resentful heart, that I'm giving up my Saturday of football and I'm only getting Sunday football, or you're like, we're going to Disney on Saturday and not Sunday, and he has to watch football, right? So the heart behind it is 10 times more important than the decision itself.
Oh, I just remembered also with that compromise, it was really fun. We did go on a Saturday, but I remember one time there was like a big Saturday college game you wanted to play. I remember one of our compromises, we'll take a break from the park and go to one of the restaurants where you can happily watch on your phone that game. Right. And either I'll sit with you for most of it or I'll like go back into the park while you keep watching it. And you know, those things, I think it's just great. But you know, that was a way because you were like, if I miss that game, then I might be really, really bummed out.
Yeah. And I do think the one thing that probably hurts us the most in compromise is we kind of get fixated on it has to look this way. Instead, my best piece of advice is both of you guys together go into the whiteboard saying, how can we get really creative here? How can we think outside the box? Instead of us wrestling like an arm wrestling match here, what if we worked on the same team here to build a really creative compromise that we're both actually really happy with, right?
Yeah.
So, but you have another question to ask.
Another question that I have to ask when it comes to compromise as you're evaluating this relationship is, am I giving up something central to who God made me? Am I giving up something central to who God made me? Now, this is important for some of you in the dating personality quizzes, like my hopeless romantics, my safety seekers. You guys are going to be wanting to basically blend your whole life into the other person's and kind of forget the things that you love and the things that truly make you you. So if I were to ask JJ to fully give up football or golf, these things that he just like deeply loves, I think it would be an unfair compromise, right? And that is something that, you know, I do believe that God made him with an adventurous, competitive spirit. Football is such a part of his history. It would not be fair for me to ask him to completely give those things up, just like it would not be fair for him to ask me to completely give Disney up. But even deeper than that, are you giving up, like when it comes to calling, when it comes to purpose, when it comes to like, let's say you're with someone, this is a good example. I'm really extroverted and this person's really introverted. Okay. I see my life and what I want in the future is to have a home where it's very open doors, where we host a lot of the times in our home. And that's something I really vision for my life, that because it's a gifting I believe God has given me to host. Now, if I was with someone who is incredibly introverted, incredibly private, I bring this up to them and they're like, oh, no. I actually don't like having people in my house at all. I'm not a big hoster and I don't really foresee that being a part of how I want to live my life. If I'm like, well, I'm going to give up this gifting that I think that I have to accommodate their introversion, that would be a really big problem, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you introduced that. And those are the more important values, giftings, and purposes that God has given you, that anytime someone is infringing upon versus amplifying, I think that's going to be a very big problem, right? So if discipleship and teaching is a really big value, a purpose, a fivefold ministry, mission that that really I embody, and the person I meet doesn't necessarily believe in discipleship, doesn't want to open their home, really wants to have a more quiet life or behind the scenes life, that's going to be a big challenge, right?
Yes.
So I do think when we talk about compromise, there's a really big difference between core values, mission, and purpose, and then tertiary, preferential lifestyle choices like hobbies and activities. Another good question you can ask is this sacrifice temporary or is it permanent? Right? If it's temporary, I think those are much easier pills to swallow than permanent sacrifices.
Right, exactly.
And those are a much bigger deal. Another good question that you had is, would I still recognize myself in 5 years if I made this decision or this compromise?
Right.
Unfortunately for Kait, I do think if I had to sweep and mop the floor every single day, I don't think I'd recognize myself in 5 years. So I can't commit to doing those things.
At the same time as we say that, you do change significantly. I'm thinking of Tim Keller's, quote. He's like, we're like a block of marble and we're always being chipped away and molded and formed and shaped in our marriage. And he said, my wife's been married to me at least 4 different men throughout our marriage, and they were all me, so you do change quite significantly.
Totally. And I hope you do.
Yes.
Right? Because the biggest flaw in our assumptions is what we have and what we've built is good and perfect.
But it's back to recognizing the core of who I am. Okay. You might change some of your preferences and some of your, things because you are melding your life with somebody, but the core of who you are, the DNA of how God formed and shaped you, would that be significantly different if you continue to make these kinds of compromises?
Totally. Now, as we wrap up today, here are some of my questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any compromises or changes I've asked you to make since dating and marriage that you look back with regret on?
I don't think so. I haven't thought about that question before this moment, so I would have to think more deeply on it. No, I wouldn't say so at this moment. What about you?
Where do I start? Man, a list. I think about this all the time. No, I would say no. And that's the beauty of marriage. A lot of those things too, I probably was a little bit more of a brat about. I was stubborn about. I was prideful about. And now looking back, I'm like, man, I'm so glad she did challenge me. Mm-hmm. And I do think that's the beauty of marriage is you're living with someone who constantly challenges you and usually the best way. And that's what I would say to any single, unless this person really does change your mission, they change your faith with God in a negative way. Mm-hmm. They take away from your values and your fivefold purpose and ministry. I think everything should be on the table.
Yeah.
Like everything about your life and how you run it should probably be on the table. Like it's open to change. Mm-hmm. It's open to be challenged. And I think you'd probably be better off for it.
So the question I've gotten from singles is a follow-up to this conversation, to that post that went viral is, okay, what do I do, Kait, as a single who has become hyper independent and has, really, really likes my life and is very, very comfortable?
I'll tell you.
Okay, tell me.
Had the number one thing.
What?
And you're going to hate it too. And it's the best thing for everybody. Never live alone. Never live alone.
Always have roommates.
I think always have a roommate or actually multiple roommates.
So if you're 45, you still believe that?
Yes. I'm not joking.
Just asking, just throwing it out there.
I think it's the best way to stay in a sanctifying opportunity that forces you to compromise, change, bend, mold, apologize, humble yourself, listen, attune, grow up, mature, have a roommate, have multiple roommates. I look back with a lot of regret at the roommates I did have, at the opportunities I squandered that challenged me to grow and humble myself.
Right.
And I acted like an immature boy, instead of growing up and having healthy conversations.
It's a very good point. I think it's so, I want to encourage singles, live and thrive and do the things that you feel called to do, especially when it comes to purpose and mission. Okay. If you want to travel. If you want to, make your life full, do the amazing things. But when it comes to specifically, how you're living your life, I would also say hold it loosely for the future. Okay. Because you're going to probably make yourself into a beautiful life that you feel very comfortable in. And when you do bring someone else into the equation, it's going to jumble things up. It almost always is going to jumble things up. So ask yourself, would I be open to moving? Am I open to shifting some of my schedule here? I mean, if you even one day want a family, that's a big question because that is a huge thing that will change your life and your schedule and your routines, is just even having a kid in and of itself. So the step before that, which is almost the baby step, is bringing a man or a woman, But then add a kid to that life and you're like, oh man, okay, this is everything is different now, right? And also am I willing to share my space? If somebody came in here with a totally different way of living, you're really messy, you'd like things unorganized, but they want no dishes in the sink at night. They want their, would you hate that? Would you be like, I can't do this? Or would you be like, okay, I can figure this out?
Yeah. as we close today, I just want to say, if you are still single and it's been involuntary, I am sorry. I know it's been hard. I know it's been challenging.
Mm-hmm.
We mean this with the most kindness, with the most love. We want you to be in a godly marriage. Like, that is what we want for you.
Mm-hmm.
And our encouragement is, the more we learn to let go of anything other than our mission and our purpose, it does make it easier to find a godly spouse.
Yeah, I agree.
And the more loose we can hold things, the more easy they are to give up,
Mm-hmm.
the more easy they are to compromise on, the more easy it is to find that person and build something new, exciting together. So, all right.
All right, guys, another episode of Relationship Goals in the books. We're excited to see you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.
The Heart of Dating podcast is created by Kait and JJ Tomlin. Shout out to our epic audio and video editor, Scott Caro. We have an amazing Heart of Dating team who helps bring this show to you each week. I want to shout out Elena Gibson, our brand and community manager. We couldn't do it without them. Now, if you guys have never ranked us or reviewed us on iTunes or Spotify, would you consider doing that? It would mean so much, because our podcast can get more discovered and more people can learn how to better date as Christians. Don't we all want that? We launch our podcast each and every week on Wednesdays, so we will see you next week.